here's an analogy that I had about how I've been thinking about the Israel-Palestine conversation amongst people who are being charitable. This analogy only works for people who are arguing in good faith, people who you otherwise would think, how does this person not understand that what they are supporting is ethnic cleansing and ethno-state genocide? And it's probably because the person they're talking about is saying, how can this otherwise good person not understand Jews have went through a genocide and that we would be wiped out? Yeah, yada, yada, right? With their process, right? So here's the analogy, okay? My daughter is, let's say she's 14, and she decides that she wants to go out. Now, typically, I don't let her go out very late. She has to be home by sunset or 9 o'clock. So I tell her, you're allowed to go out, but since there's no school tomorrow, you can come back at midnight as long as you stay in the neighborhood. She ends up staying out until like 4 a.m. And around 4 in the morning, she comes walking in, and I am livid. What the where have you been? You know, yada, yada, yada. And she has an attitude and she says, okay, calm down. I lost track of time, but I'm home. Now, the way she's talking to me, I'm like, wait, what's wrong with me? And I'm like flipping out now. And we're both yelling at each other because she thinks I'm overreacting. And I think that she's not, you know, she's being disrespectful. And then she says, you, I hate you. And then I, in a moment of rage, rear back and slap the shit out of her as hard as I can. She ends up leaving and she goes and lives with her mom. And I don't see her for years after that situation. This is not a real event. This is an analogy in case you came in the middle of the story. This is not a real event. Now we are retelling the story. So now it's time for me to tell my story. It goes like, I can't believe it. I was beside myself. I was crying. I called her mom. I thought she might be dead. I was freaking out. When she walked through the door, I do remember thinking like, oh my God, thank you. But where the have you been? And then she was like so nasty. She didn't care. And then she looked me dead in my face and she was like, you, I hate you. And I slapped her. You know, I slapped her. She fell down all dramatic. And look, I was wrong. I should not have slapped her. My daughter tells a story. She'll say, I was told to go home. My phone died. I didn't have any way to tell time. I was having a ton of fun. There was a bonfire until somebody told me it was like almost 4. I freaked out. I ran home. And when my dad got there, you would have thought I killed somebody. Okay, I was 4 hours late, but he like looked at me like I was just some piece of shit. And then I just got so mad. I said, you, which I shouldn't have said, but I was so mad. And this big ass 280-pound guy slapped me. I remember I felt dizzy. I thought I was going to be knocked out. My ears are ringing. And I look up at him and he's just this raging beast. And he just looks at me like that. So these are 2 stories. 2 people are listening to this story. They're both probably like, oh my God, what a story. That's crazy. That's sad. I can't believe she said you to her dad like that. And the other person's like, yeah, it is fucking, wait, what'd you say? Like, I can't believe that she said, like, she just like completely disrespected her dad. Like, I couldn't even imagine telling my parents you like that. And the other person's like, did you miss the part where he hit her? Like, no, I get it. He feels bad about that. He should have hit her, but like, you to your dad? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's bad. But it's definitely worse that he hit her. That's how this whole conversation about Israel-Palestine is. I've been poring over articles. I've been looking up excerpts, quotes from books to get context. I purposefully, and we're going to watch one of them today on the Palestine side. But before I watched the pro-Palestine side, I watched a pro-Israel side because the dude giving the talk was a historian with a PhD and an admitted liberal. He doesn't think that the settlers should be in West Bank. He thinks that the West Bank should have been given back to Palestine. He thinks that Palestine should have right of return and go back. He's a supporter of the 2-state solution, right? Or was, rather. So I said, you know what? I think this person is going to give a good faith argument. And I listened, and it sure didn't change my mind. But once I heard his point, and then I heard the other guy's point, it's like, yeah, on some like, there are some like details, right? Where they're like one side feels they're omitting the other side, or they're downplaying some information, or they're completely leaving it out, and you see this kind of stuff a lot. Like my good friend, you know, when we have this conversation, he'll goes, well, I mean, that's true, but I think that's kind of weird that your source didn't mention the massacre of blah, blah, blah of 1908. Every side has their like, this is the thing, or this is the thing. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we can't really use our emotions to try to come to these, you know, this position. We can't use our emotions to be like, look, yeah, I'm gonna decide this because this is the one that makes me the saddest, or this person is the most angry, or well, I mean, these 4 people from this country said this is how they feel about it. I should probably feel that way too, because what do I know? You have to decide. What is worse, slapping the shit out of your daughter or her telling you F you? Like, you have to decide that. And then once you do, then there's your answer. Like, that's what I'm seeing right now. Like anybody who can literally sit there and still support Israel after watching what's been going on has decided for themselves, I'm sorry, but there are no Palestinian lives lost that is going to be worth giving this over, letting Palestinians win, letting Hamas win. And Destiny said it. He tried to backpedal. He tried to say there was context. But Destiny straight up said,
honestly, I'm pro genocide. It sounds really shitty, but I think that Israel should just draw its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but that's about where I'm at. I don't know.
And this is where you got to give Destiny credit. Oh, okay, there you go. Then you just said it. What else is there? Just be honest. So for me, for this whole thing, if anybody were to be like, okay, then what is your position? Like, what is your moral framework by which you decide, yes, this is where I stand, and not because enough people of a certain color said a thing, not because one side has a sad story, right? It's not actually the pictures of dead babies, like the babies themselves. It's the situation in which we're finding these dead babies, and the idea that you can sit there and say Hamas killing all those people in the kibbutzes and stuff like that suddenly doesn't matter. Yes, it matters. Just like it matters that the cartel will go in to marginalized Mexican neighborhoods in Albuquerque and exploit people in poverty. If more and more people start to join the cartel and then there's some mass shooting in a local mall somewhere, when I say you understand that the system of white supremacy and these people being marginalized is what has caused them to turn to the cartels, who the is going to interpret that as, why do you like the cartel? What is happening in Palestine is a product of the British Empire double-crossing the Arab people that helped them defeat the Ottoman Empire, of telling refugees and Zionists alike, go down there and we've told them they have to let you in, and then establishing a state and then creating an ethno-state. If your moral framework allows for an ethno-state, then that's it. We will disagree just based off of that. But mine says no ethno-states, no apartheid states. And that's why they know that. They know that. Like, if they had them in chattel slavery right now, they would be making the same exact arguments as they do for why they have to be in Gaza the way they are, or why they're not allowed to be back in the West Bank that they are, and the ones that are there are treated the way that they are. They would be making the same exact arguments. We had to put them into slavery. Because in 1940, blah, 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 in 1918, in 19, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like, what else were we going to do? Hey, at least we didn't genocide them. At least we didn't kill them. We just put them in chains and sold them on open slave markets. And then when the world says, you can't put them into slavery like that, that's not right. Well, what do you want us to do? Free them all? They'll just kill us.